Spider-Man Remastered was, like I said in my review, a great foundation and an overall absolutely amazing game. But with Spider-Man 2 on the horizon, I did something called Spider Week. Now, this is the last video of Spider Week, and I want to thank you guys for the support on these last 7 videos. But Miles Morales exists too. A lot of people seem to forget about this game, and honestly, I love it. It's so good. It fixes a lot of smaller issues I had with Spider-Man Remastered, like the web slinging being a lot more fluid. The suit selection is actually a lot better in this game, and overall, it's an overall more fun experience to play. But that doesn't excuse the main story that, in my opinion, is so much weaker than Spider-Man Remastered, which had, in my opinion, a near perfect story. Spider-Man Miles Morales is just kind of average, if not slightly below average. But in my opinion, it also has some pretty good themes and just things to talk about. Post-game is also a lot better than Spider-Man Remastered, and I think that the combat is also a lot better, and yeah, but this video is going to be a lot shorter than my Remastered review because this game is like half the length. But of course, this video won't be like 12 minutes. But yeah, I'm Justin from my studios, and let's get into why Spider-Man Miles Morales is a great improvement. Chapter 1, Story. So the main story of Miles Morales goes like this. Miles Morales goes with Peter on top of a building, and they survey Rhino being captured by transport. This is Miles' first major mission as Spider-Man, and he messes it up by crashing the helicopter, causing both Raft escapees, again, and Rhino to escape. While Peter tries to apprehend Rhino, Miles takes out the prison guards, but they ended up escaping. Then Miles helps Peter, and an epic chase sequence ensues, where they go through a mall and mess up J. Jonah Jameson's Christmas party. Then they go through a Roxxon energy plant and blows up. And Peter gets really damaged while Miles has to fight the Raft prisoners who are beaten and then also escape again. After that, then Miles defends Peter, but ends up getting a new ability called Venom, which is basically like a bioelectricity out of his hand. Miles beats the Rhino, which is shocking because he's barely like 2 months on the job. And Peter reveals like he's going on vacation, but before he does that, he gives Miles a gift. Gift number 1 is a new suit, which he shows his friend Genki, who seemingly knows he's Spider-Man. But before Peter gives him this gift, he reveals that Miles is on his own for like 2 to 3 weeks, where Peter leaves for Christmas and goes to Sokovia to talk with Silver Sable and MJ about the Daily Bugle. Miles, realizing he's the only Spider-Man, puts on this suit and goes through a training sequence with Peter. This is another thing we'll talk about in post-game, but Peter trains Miles and messes up, and all the equipment almost gets stolen, but Miles is able to stop it. Miles then decides to go back home, but then stops at Roxxon Plaza. Roxxon Plaza is a new energy plant built by Roxxon in the middle of Harlem, after Miles recently moved to Harlem and his mom is trying to become mayor. Roxxon promises it's safe, but everyone's suspicious, and there's a group called the Underground that are attacking this place. The Underground have been recruiting kids around them to help them out, and they want to gain notoriety. Their main leader is someone called the Tinker. They try to steal shipment locations that they call New Form, but Miles is able to stop them and gets home just in time for Christmas dinner. He then fixes the lights, and they realize that his best friend Finn is after over a year of losing contact. Because Miles went to Brooklyn Visions Academy, and he recently moved to Harlem. Well, she went to Brooklyn High. They reconnect, and they realize that they actually broke up, not like romantically, but they just grew apart over the year. Miles then meets her the next day, but before that, he helps out with his Uncle Aaron, because Genki made a new app called the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man app. This app allows you to do multiple things like spawn crimes, or do little tasks that people can recommend, and the app ends up blowing up by the end of the game. But Miles' uncle is the first person to make a call on this app, and Miles helps him out from defeating Underground, who are trying to stop the trains that may be shipping New Form. He then reveals that he knows Miles is Spider-Man due to his dunking skills on Rhino, and he promises to keep his secret, but not before giving him a bus pass, which is this game's excuse to have fast travel. Because if you didn't know, on the PS4, there's train cutscenes whenever you're fast traveling. Not for us high-class PS5 individuals, of course. But Miles then goes see his old friend Finn, who realizes they've been putting time capsules all over the city before her brother died. There are like 12 time capsules, and they all hold stuff like the Science Fair project. But once that's done, Miles has his rally with his mom, who's trying to become, I think, a representative of Harlem on the city council, and she's winning polls. But before that, the underground actually ends up tinkering with the rally. Har har har. The underground attack because they're trying to create a distraction forward to get new form on the bridge, but Miles is able to stop them, but not before. They steal one canister and he blows up the entire thing, causing the entire bridge to blow up, and he has to save a ton of people in honestly my favorite sequence of the game. This then puts Miles to realize that it was his fault he blew up the bridge and everyone's blaming him along with Roxxon. They also reveal that Roxxon aren't really good guys and they try to shoot Spider-Man on sight even after he saved them. Genki then tells Miles that he is Spider-Man, which is definitely true, and Miles crafts the greatest suit in existence to go help fight Roxxon in the underground. So the first thing he does after that, because earlier he discovered that Tinker is actually his friend Finn, shocker I know, emotional connection to the bad guy, not like that's been done before, but then he goes to the old house where he realizes that Nuform is actually poisoning people and it's not as safe as Roxxon said, and that it killed Finn's brother, who was a chief researcher on Nuform. Finn then swears revenge, and she is the Tinker, but then a bunch of people attack her old warehouse. Miles then realizes he's got invincibility, which he found on the bridge, but he's not able to use, and you use this to take out a bunch of enemies, and he then realizes that Finn's old phone is trapped on the Roxxon main area, so he goes there and sneaks in, but his uncle, aka the Prowler, stops him, and he realizes that that's why his dad and uncle split up. It's because his uncle was the Prowler and his dad was the police officer. Prowler then helps Miles get to the facility. He finds the phone, sees the video which shows Krieger, which is the main CEO of Roxxon, killing Finn's brother, and he realizes he needs to take out both Roxxon and Krieger and the Tinker. He then leaves, and he's on Roxxon's hit list now. Prowler then convinces Miles in an ill-mannered move to actually trick Finn into joining the underground, and she lets him join the underground. Miles then finds their location, which is actually the old Fisk building, and suits up a Spider-Man to defeat all of them, and finds not only a few underground bases, but he also ends up finding the location of the Nuform. Miles then does some stuff throughout the day, some map stuff, and then he swings over there to the theater, where it's being held, defeats a bunch of guys, and goes through and decides he's going to tell Finn that he's Spider-Man, because it's the only way to stop her. Epic chase sequence ensues. She almost kills Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is able to reveal his identity to her in time for her to save him. And there's major rift between the two main characters now. They then meet on top of Trinity Church, which is where one of their best memories is, and they're captured by a Roxxon enhanced Rhino, who wasn't given over to the police, was instead captured by Krieger and made into their personal servants. He's got shock-proof armor, which Miles can use his Venom on. They're then captured. Krieger realizes he knows who Finn is, and he wants to know who Spider-Man is, and they end up escaping, but not before beating up Rhino. They use tanks and stuff to beat up Rhino, and Miles realizes that the Nuform has actually been worsened to the fact that if she goes ahead and uses it to blow up the plaza, it'll actually disintegrate all of Harlem and maybe even some of Midtown. So Peter tries to stop her, she gets angry at Miles, almost kills him, and then Genki's able to save him, but not before revealing to Miles' mom that he's actually Spider-Man. They then team up to evacuate the entire city, and Miles goes to the only place where she could be creating and making the Nuform worse, which is the Science Center. He tries to go there, but his uncle stops him for the greater good and captures him. Miles doesn't agree with this because Spider-Man can't be stepping down and not doing something. So he breaks out, defeats the Prowler, and goes to the Science Center where he defeats a bunch of enemies and tries to get Finn. This doesn't work, and now the biggest snowstorm in the century is here. Miles has to stop both Roxxon and the Tinker while also in a major snowstorm. He's able to do this, not before the Prowler breaks out of Miles' little trap and helps him and becomes a good guy. Miles then attacks Tinker, an epic fight ensues, and Tinker sacrifices herself when she realizes the error of her ways. Prowler then gives himself up to the police, rats on Roxxon, and the day is good. Now, I really have a lot of issues with the story. I like the heart of the story, and I feel like the heart was there, but it's just not as good as Spider-Man PS4 story. Number one, Finn's motives were dumb. Her brother died, I get it, grief and all, but it didn't equate to blowing up an entire plaza, especially someone as smart as Tinker. I also don't think someone who is into the type of stuff like electronics, you can't be building revolutionary Stark level tech as a teenager. I'm sorry to say, it's incredibly unrealistic and I don't like it. You think she'd be smart enough to know that Roxxon's going to blow up the entire plaza, But no, she can still invent new tech, which we'll get into the post-game later, which she does in the post-game. But I liked her death a lot, and the final encounter was pretty cool. I liked Miles' mom running for a campaign. I liked all the family messages. I really liked Genki. I liked the Prowler's turn. And overall, the story is just meh. It's like a 7 out of 10, where Spider-Man Remastered story was a 10 out of 10. It's just meh, honestly. I really enjoyed some of the boss fights in this game. The boss fights are definitely improved. Yeah, but that's the story. Let's get into the gameplay.
Chapter 2. Gameplay.
The gameplay is heavily improved in Spider-Man Remastered. It's actually a lot harder as well, because you have to master the new Venom abilities. There's Venom Punch, which is basically just a basic punch in my most used Venom attack. It's used to defeat almost every enemy. Then there's Venom Air Attack, which allows you to lift enemies into the air. This is pretty good for almost every group of enemies, especially if you mix it with the next attack, which is the Venom Slam, which allows you to slam into the ground and electrocute enemies. Then there's Overall Blast, which allows you to have, and I only use it 3 times throughout the whole game, but if you have all 3 Venom bars, you can basically blow up. Now, I'm not going to be covering any of the old gameplay stuff, because I don't really see a point in covering it. But I also want to talk about the new system. Basically, you can't just do takedowns anymore, 2 takedowns in a row. You need to have 15 combo just to do 1, and you can only bang 2 until New Game Plus. So it's crazy. They're definitely nerfed in this game, especially compared to Spider-Man Remastered. Then there's invisibility, which drains over time and basically allows you to take down enemies without them seeing you. Every time you punch an enemy and every time you take them down, it removes some. But when you do a takedown, it doesn't remove too much. It also makes sure enemies forget about you and you can't see them. There aren't really any more major gameplay changes except invisibility and Venom. We'll get into swinging later, but into the group of enemies, there's now underground enemies, which are my personal favorite enemies from the entire series. Basically, they need to be defeated by Venom or slipping under them. You can't just defeat them head on. They're pretty easy to defeat, but they do give you, you have to be on your toes. There are less thugs in this game. There really aren't many thugs you fight throughout the story. The underground guys, and there's also sword guys, which act kind of like whip guys from the original game, but they do more damage, and you still need Venom. It's actually better to use that. You really only touch them using Venom Dash. Then there's heavy Tinker enemies, which are basically like big guys, but actually tougher. You need to use them to take these guys out. And I usually took them out by getting up to finishes, but you can also Venom Punch them, use a Venom Blast, and just take them out. But then now there's Roxxon enemies, which are the second new type of enemy. I won't talk about Raft guys, because they're usually in the game anyway. But there's really only 2 types. Number 1 is the main guys, snipers. Like I said, normally snipers are usually tough to beat. And then there's also Roxxon suppression. Basically, every Roxxon guy, if they hit you, it suppresses your Venom for, I think it's 15 seconds. Or 10, it's like 6-7 seconds. And it's really tough because when you deal a lot of these enemies in a row, they can be very tough. The Roxxon enemies are definitely the toughest enemies in the series to beat. Especially when you're over-reliant on Venom. They kind of teach you to be careful about your Venom. Then there's the shield guys, which basically take your Venom attacks and throw them right back at you. But these guys, you need to be careful or you'll get your butt kicked. I got my butt kicked on so many bases. I think I lost the footage. But I got my butt kicked about 25 times from these guys in just 1 base alone. It was an extremely impressive experience. They're incredibly tough to beat, and if you don't do it perfectly, you're destroyed. They're gonna literally mop the floor with you. You're gonna be like mopped. But yeah, that's the gameplay. Next, let's get into the swinging, which is heavily improved.
Chapter 3. Swinging.
Basically now, it's the same button for tricks, but there's also now main tricks, which are 4. Then if you do a dive, there are 4 more tricks. And then if you go on your back and then do a dive, there are another 4 tricks, making it so there are 12 tricks, instead of just the original game where there were really only 4, and they were boring and slow. The tricks all weave into each other. There's a few references to Spider-Verse in there. It's overall a very much better, even if that was the only new improvement. Then there's Venom Jump, which allows you to gain height, and Venom Dash, it allows you to gain speed. These are really good, because in the original game, what you would do is you would go, and you'd have to run up a building, but now you just use 2 Venom Jumps, and then a Venom Dash, and you can get over a building in half the speed. It overall just improves the fluidity between it, and it's really, really good. Swinging also feels slightly faster. I think it's down to the animations that are much smoother in this game. Miles just has the exaggerated swagger of a black teen, and it's great. And I absolutely love his overall just style throughout the game. He really do got that swagger. Like, it's honestly great. I love his style throughout the game and just being able to swing through at supersonic speed. It's really cool, and I think the swinging is just heavily improved from the original game. That's something this game is pretty good at. It makes minor improvements to almost every single system from the original game. It's not like Spider-Man 2, which I haven't played yet, but it is making major improvements to everything. Spider-Man 2 just more is adding a lot of smaller improvements, and I'm honestly here for it. Because to me, it's the ultimate, like, original Spider-Man PS4 experience before Spider-Man 2 comes out. And I really enjoyed this game just overall, and thought it was a lot of fun. The swinging is just especially a lot of fun. But now let's get into post-game.
Chapter 4, Post-game.
Basically, we'll talk about bases first. They're basically just like the original game. There's 3 Roxxon bases and 3 Underground bases. Underground bases, you help the new podcaster of the game create a story about Underground and how they were formed, how they had connections to almost every other gang, like the Demons, the Tombstone Gang, and even the, I think they also had, didn't they also have connections to, I think they had connections to Kingpin guys as well. In Roxxon, you're learning about the dangerous effects of new form, basically, and it's really cool. I like how these add a little bit of story. There's something I really liked about the bases. You don't just do them for the sake of doing them. There's a story throughout them that's pretty cool. That's why I also like to say that Never Sleeps bases. There's a story throughout all of them, and it's a lot of fun to do. But yeah, now let's talk about training missions, which are really improved over the original game. Rather than you just having to be perfect at everything over and over, there are different objectives. My favorite one being I would say my favorite one of the entire game is probably the don't get hit one, because it really requires you to be smart about where you are. The stealth challenges are a lot harder in this game than they were in the original game. There's some stupid, I'm looking at you, Doc Puzzle. There are some stupidly difficult stealth challenges in these games that is incredibly impressive and honestly kind of idiotic. Then there are swinging challenges, which are really easy. These all lock, like, abilities that you should have throughout the entire game, like bullet jump. You should definitely have this ability throughout the entire game. But then they also lock the ability to retaliate when you do perfect dodge an enemy, which is just stupid to me. The fact that they locked the best abilities behind training missions, meaning, one, they made the game a lot harder to the story, and two, is that people who didn't do the post games really don't get a good experience. Like, it sucks, man. They locked the fact that they locked the roll jump is idiotic to me. I get locking the retaliation because it's kind of an overpowered ability and it's pretty cool to be trained to use it. But I just didn't understand the fact they locked bullet jump. All the other ones kind of make sense from the lock. Then there's sound samples, which basically find you going after sound samples throughout the entire game from Prowler, and they end up making a really cool beat, and this is where you unlock the Prowler suit. Let's talk about the suits quickly. The suits are very good in this game. They really are. I have a whole video, which is why I'm not going to dive too far into it. But overall, there's a better selection in this game than in the last game. Then, the last thing for post-game is the SFM map. There's 3 side quests, there being the Feast one, which I haven't done as of recording this video. I'm still currently waiting on streaming that. But I have done it before. I've done every other SFM map thing except the Feast one. It was really cool to see that Kingpin was behind everything, and it was really cool just to help citizens throughout the city. Some of them felt like filler. Like I said, I would mention this. The stupid, whoever decided the skyscraper puzzle needs to be fired. Like, this is idiotic. The fact that they put this in the game and thought it was okay, it was 5 minutes. A group of enemies and, like, a minute of just walking around. It is insanely stupid. It's definitely just filler stuff that have an even amount. I think there are 14 SFM map activities. The cat one is pretty cool. It's just overall the SFM map activities are really, really good in this game. And then let's talk about New Game Plus. I really didn't like New Game Plus. I like how they're giving you an incentive, but the suit is stupid and the overall locking the ability is just idiotic to me. I just don't understand why they decided to lock all the abilities behind basically a play wall. You need to actually do New Game Plus to unlock a suit, which is insane. Literally crazy to me. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. This video was a lot shorter, 7 minutes shorter than my last video, but the game is half the size, so this was a pretty long video for what it was. I want to thank you guys for Spider Week. I had a lot of fun making these videos. This is the last video I'll be recording. I still have to edit 2 or 3 videos, so I'm not quite done with Spider Week yet. But it's kind of great. I really hope the series does well. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I know that this guy will enjoy it. I mean, shout out to you. You literally comment on almost every video I put out. And it's kind of funny. My favorite video to make a Spider Week was definitely the remastered review or the take a picture with every single suit. I had a ton of fun with those videos. Sorry for any mic issues I had on the PS5 video. I kind of needed to buy a mic. I don't have a mic at all. I'm kind of dirt poor. I mean, like, what am I gonna... I don't even have a computer. I did all these videos on CapCut. CapCut and I use Filmora. Like, this video is probably going to be edited in Filmora, while most videos are edited in CapCut. I just edit the longer videos in Filmora because it's quicker. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe. Next video, I'm undecided currently what the next video is. It's going to be 2 weeks away. I'm taking This video is coming out Wednesday. I'm taking Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off because I need those days off. I'm taking until the Monday of Spider-Man 2 comes off. I'm taking those days off. And then I'm coming back and I'm doing probably a video on Aang's kids from Korra. Really enjoyed that. I'm currently rewatching Korra and I'm loving Tenzin and Boomy and stuff. So that may be the next video I put out. If not that, then probably, I don't know, nothing Marvel for a long time. Probably or maybe a review of like Batman Begins or something. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Thank you for watching Spider Week from the bottom of my heart. And I'm Joshua from my studios. Thank you for watching Spider Week. Subscribe, hit the bell, and yeah, stay electric.